We are often told that the greatest wealth in human history belongs to the industrial titans of the modern West. But they are all paupers compared to a man who walked the dust of the Sahel 7 centuries ago. Imagine a world where a single king's charity could collapse the economy of an entire continent just by passing through. The Sahara is not just a desert, it is an ocean of sand, and for centuries, it was the most formidable barrier on Earth. But like any ocean, those who knew how to navigate it held the keys to the world. In the 13th century, between the scorching dunes and the lush forests of West Africa, a new power began to stir. This was the Mali Empire. It did not begin with gold, but with a legend, the story of Sundiata Keita, the Lion King. Born unable to walk and exile in his own land, he rose to unite the Mandinka people. He transformed a collection of small chiefdoms into a unified state that stretched for 2,000 miles. But the land held a secret. Beneath the red earth of Bambouk and Bouré lay the largest deposits of gold the world had ever seen. At a time when Europe was fractured and hungry for currency, West Africa was the beating heart of global commerce. The world didn't know Mali yet, but Mali knew the world. By the time Mansa Musa ascended the throne in 1312, Mali was no longer just a kingdom, it was a superpower. Imagine Timbuktu, not as a metaphor for a faraway place, but as a city of light, a city where books were valued more than gold. While London was a collection of wooden shacks, Timbuktu was a cosmopolitan hub of brick and mortar, home to the University of Sankore. Tens of thousands of students gathered here to study astronomy, mathematics, and law. But it was the year 1324 that changed the global perception of Africa forever. Mansa Musa embarked on a pilgrimage to Mecca. This was not a quiet journey. It was a moving city. 60,000 men, 12,000 servants clad in Persian silk, and 80 camels, each carrying hundreds of pounds of pure, unrefined gold. As the caravan reached Cairo, Musa gave away gold so freely, with such staggering generosity, that the value of the metal plummeted. He stayed for only 3 months, but it took 12 years for the Egyptian economy to recover from his kindness. Word spread across the Mediterranean. Maps began to change. In the famous Catalan Atlas, the king of Mali is depicted sitting on a golden throne, holding a golden scepter, and gazing at a golden nugget. To the medieval world, Mali was the land of the sun. It was the source of everything they coveted. No empire, no matter how golden, can hold back the tides of time forever. The very wealth that built Mali's universities and mosques eventually painted a target on its back. Following the death of Mansa Musa, the empire faced the inevitable struggle of succession. Palace intrigues and weak rulers began to fray the edges of the central authority. To the east, the Songhai people, once subjects of Mali, saw their moment. They began to rise, seizing the vital trade cities of Gao and Timbuktu. To the north, the Moroccan Sultanate looked across the desert with envy, dreaming of the mines that fueled Mali's glory. But the true shift was happening on the coast. The arrival of Portuguese explorers in the 15th century changed the geography of power. Trade shifted from the ancient camel caravans of the Sahara to the wooden ships of the Atlantic. The interior of the continent, once the center of the world, was being bypassed. By the 1600s, the empire had fractured into small chiefdoms. The great libraries began to collect dust. The gold mines, though still there, were no longer the engines of a sovereign African superpower, but the fuel for a global colonial machine. The story of Mali is often buried under the weight of more recent history, a history of struggle and scarcity. We are taught to look at Africa through the lens of what it lacks, rather than what it has given. But the red bricks of the mosques in Djenné still stand. The ancient manuscripts of Timbuktu, hidden in basements and desert caves for centuries, are being rediscovered. They are a silent testament to a time when an African king dictated the price of gold in the markets of Venice and Cairo. Mali reminds us that history is a circle, not a straight line. It challenges us to remember a world where the Sahara was a bridge, not a barrier, and where the greatest wealth on earth was found not just in the ground, but in the minds of the scholars who gathered in the shade of the Sahel. Perhaps the gold was never the true treasure. Perhaps the true treasure was the proof that greatness has always had a home under the West African sun.